Chief. Welcome, everybody, and good morning. Happy Sunday morning. The fourth week of the NFL is ahead of us. We're the world's best fantasy show. That's Tarbill. Down below is the Green Bay Packers' best fan, DaMouse, Tyler. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Week 4 is underway, as you said. Excited. Hopefully, we'll see the Bears bounce back after what was a horrific loss last week to the Cleveland Browns. I could rant about that all morning, but Tyler, how are you?
Not too bad. Excited for another fantastic day of football every Sunday. It's the best day of the week. Can't wait every Sunday.
Well, it's turning into the way the schedule makers are doing it. It's turning in the best games are Sunday night and Monday night. Look at this week. You know, we could even start there. That's why we are the world's best fantasy show. We can go all the way till tomorrow. We got to live, all of us, till tomorrow. But are you guys like me? I'm getting a little bit tired of Tom Brady. That's my feeling. And I've always liked him. But I'm getting tired of all this crap.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the guy's going to play till he's 50 years old. There's no indication. Everybody says that he wants to go to 45, but with the level that he's playing and the talent that they've put around him, playing for another 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, people are sick of hearing about it, everything Tom Brady does, but you got to look at it from the media standpoint. we have never seen any player in any sport do what Tom Brady is doing. We're witnessing
And
greatness every single week. So it's just a storyline every week. So the media is just going to keep harping on it because they know
Right.
this isn't going to keep going on forever. We got to milk it while we can.
his press conference the other day where he was all and his face looked drawn, he looked sick.
He did, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did. In this world we're living in with COVID and everything else, we don't know, of what this guy is. But I'm just getting sick of it. And the pressure on him, they showed on, there was a crowd last night. If you people go to ESPN and watch Sports Center, there was a crowd last night at the Tampa Bay airport. I mean, at the New England airport, when Tampa Bay's plane came, the fans just surrounding Tom Brady.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tom Brady's always going to be a Patriot to, 90% of the fan base. You've got the 10% that are pissed off that he left, but overall, New England fans are always going to be appreciative to him, as they should, because I don't think that Belichick has the success with another quarterback that he had with Tom Brady for the rest of his career. Mac Jones, as good as he's looked early on, is not the next Tom Brady.
Nobody's going to be the next Tom Brady.
Yep,
Nobody is.
nobody.
Okay, as long as we're at that game, there for everybody to inform them, Rob Gronkowski is not playing tonight,
Yes.
tomorrow night.
Right.
It's tonight.
Is there any other significant injuries in that game? I don't see any, but he's losing his favorite receiver. But Antonio Brown is back.
Antonio Brown is back, and then James White is on IR. He is out for the rest of the season.
Yes.
He's out for the season. Drop him if you have him on your team, and that's a big loss. He's one of the best at a receiving running back out of a backfield. It's going to be interesting. Are you going to touch on that game later, Tyler, for gambling purposes?
I am not. So at this point, it's like 95% of the money coming in is on Tampa Bay. And from experience, we've all, I think it's 7.5 now.
I was going to say it was 7.5 when I looked.
Okay, so yeah, 95% of the money is in on it, and we've seen time and time again when you have more than 90% of the public on one side, things go the other way. So I was planning on waiting to see what would happen leading up until that game, because right after the 3 o'clock game, everybody's going to be throwing
more than any.
Absolutely.
Take the points. I'm going to go with the Patriots.
You've got the entire revenge narrative, right? The coach getting
What revenge? They talk revenge. He wanted to go to somewhere else. He wasn't respected. Belichick wanted to try something. Don't forget, Belichick wanted to replace him with Garoppolo.
Yeah, it was
that is correct.
2017 is when Belichick wanted to move on from Brady and go to Garoppolo.
Right.
And Kraft blocked that, correct? At the time,
Yep.
He said, no, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Has this ever happened? And we're going to move on. Hall of Famer, we know that they should break the rules when Brady retires. They should call it the Brady Award and put him right into the Hall of Fame. Whose cap does he wear?
Oh, he has to wear New England.
Yeah.
I think it's completely disrespectful if he goes up there in a Tampa Bay hat.
I mean, unless he plays for Tampa.
For
unless
3
he plays
more years
for Tampa
and win Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man.
If he wins another Super Bowl on Tampa, I don't know. He's saying all the right things.
But he still won, what, 5 with New England then?
Yeah.
6, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he has 6 altogether. I think 5 are with New England.
I'm still going with the Buccaneers. Hey, to me, the best game of the week is tomorrow night. And that's the Chargers at home with the Raiders. There'll be more Raider fans in the stadium than Charger
Yep.
fans. Still don't know why they moved to LA, but they got a new stadium that's not theirs. It's like the Clippers when they were playing. It's the Lakers.
Mhm.
I don't know why, but you'll see more Raider fans. And are the Raiders for real, guys? Josh Jacobs back, I think. He's playing tomorrow night.
So as of now, Derek Carr is leading the league in passing yards and touchdowns, I believe,
Yep.
coming into this week. The guy's playing phenomenal football. I think the Raiders are going to implode at some point during the season, so I'm not.
Because that's John Gruden's way.
Yes.
He just implodes.
I'm not too keen on taking them for bets or anything like that at this point. They have a great tight end if you were lucky enough to scoop him up for fantasy purposes, but the Raiders are a tough team for me. I think eventually they'll implode and you'll see more of the same that we've seen year over year over year.
I think they're a
And I
wild
don't
card.
think so. I think this is the year. There's something about it. I'm a big Raider believer tomorrow night that they'll come in and it's really, there's no home field advantage tomorrow. And I think Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs, and those two wide receivers, and of course the tight end you're talking about, Waller.
Yes.
I lost my first game of the year because of that jerk. Who now, by the way, 2022, he's going to be the second tight end taken, not George Kittle. Waller will move up to number 2 next season because George Kittle.
We'll see. I think there's a lot of football left to be played, and I think Kittle's going to iron it out and figure it out.
Kittle might miss
this stretch.
Kittle might miss this week, and actually Waller by ADP was the second tight end taken this year.
What, ahead of Kittle?
Yeah, ahead of Kittle.
I mean, I'm sure other than the unsuredness of the quarterback situation, just go, oh, well. You guys, Raiders, Chargers, who do you like?
As much as I hate to say it, in this one, I'm going to take the Raiders just because they've been offensively, they've been extremely stout the last few weeks. All season so far, they've been extremely offensively stout, and I just don't think that Justin Herbert and the Chargers have enough to keep up. We got a question here in the chat real quick, guys. Brissett or Tannehill in a full PPR league?
Well, Tannehill has no receivers.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you get points for handing off to, Derrick Henry, shame to say, but Brissett, to me, is a better quarterback than Wentz. I would go with Brissett, not even a second thought.
I would agree.
I think those are rough options, but I don't know. We've seen years and years of Jacoby Brissett production, and it's not good. I think you still got to go with Tannehill, even with all the injuries he has. We've seen Derrick Henry more involved with the pass game over the last couple of weeks. I think you see a decent amount of dump offs to him, and then you still got a cake matchup going against the soft Jets defense. So, they still got like Chester Rogers, Nick Anderson is their wide receiver 1 coming into this week. Not good options, but I think Tannehill is 10 times better a quarterback than Jacoby Brissett.
We have another important comment here in the chat that we need to highlight real quick. Facebook user saying fire Nagy and Pace. Well, Facebook
before the game, wouldn't that be great? Would you guys there in Chicago love the fact that, whoever is doing the play-by-play calls up and thinks, and they say they got fired before the game?
So to comment on that, in my humble opinion, and I may be wrong, Bill Lazor is calling the plays today. Bill Lazor is calling plays. It's not going to be Matt Nagy, and we know that Justin Fields is going to be the starting quarterback. That was leaked by Shefty yesterday. So with that being said, I think that we see a completely different offensive game plan this week against a much softer defense with the Detroit Lions. I think Justin Fields has a confidence game, and I'm going to go out there on a limb and say he throws and or combines total for 3 touchdowns, and maybe even Montgomery gets one, and the Bears win 28-21, I'm going to say, against the Lions this afternoon.
I'm taking the Lions. I think, and you know what? They've been playing tight football. They've been playing good football. DeAndre Swift is really good in the backfield, and everything else. There's something about last week's Bears performance and Justin Fields' performance really bothered me. Maybe that's why Nagy didn't think Justin Fields was ready to be a starter.
The kid had less than 1 second to get the ball out. 0.7 of a second. Tom Brady can't even get the ball out in 0.7 of a second. I mean,
okay, but the offensive line hasn't proven that they can stop anybody from coming into the bed. I'm going to Lions. I'm going the Lions in a double-digit victory.
Oh man!
Oh, you're killing me, Space.
If that happens, Nagy has to be fired immediately after the game. Don't even have him in a meeting or anything. Tell him to pack his bags and get the hell out of the building.
That was the other point that I was going to allude to. Is if Justin Fields and the offense struggle again today, I would have to think that Matt Nagy is fired after the game. Historically, the Bears have never fired a head coach during the regular season
because they don't want to pay someone for not working.
This may be the one exception to the rule, just because at this point, if you see Nagy come out here and do the same thing and risk potentially getting Justin Fields hurt, you are hurting the development and the future of your franchise here in Chicago by allowing Matt Nagy to incompetently coach that young stud.
Mm-hmm. Remember one thing. It's easier being out here for me in 12 years removed from Chicago to not be the ultimate Bear fan.
Of course,
maybe there's a reason. Maybe we're all getting fooled. How many quarterbacks were taken before him?
Is it 3?
And, including Denver, who maybe Denver knew they didn't need a quarterback the way Bridgewater's playing. But I'm telling you, there's something that I don't buy. Is Justin Fields, did we feel the same way? Would we have felt the same way when Dwayne Haskins came out? And now look at Haskins. I mean, didn't Fields replace Dwayne Haskins in Ohio State?
I think he started after Haskins had went into the NFL already.
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I'm not completely sold. I saw a nervous kid playing last week, and I'm
sorry, Space. Would you rather have Fields or Heineke on your bench?
Fields long term, but I actually like Heineke this week as a streamer. Heineke, I don't think has had under 20 fantasy points yet. I'm going to look that up.
And I like Heineke better because Heineke's head has always been a bench player. Fields in his head is a starter. And the question was on the bench, I'd rather have Heineke.
So I've got 2 Bears questions for you guys before we move on. One, if Justin Fields has a terrific game this week, does Matt Nagy put him back on the bench for the Red Rocket when healthy?
Terrific game. He starts the rest of the year or till injury.
Tyler?
Yeah, I think he goes back to the Red Rocket. He keeps saying over and over again, Andy Dalton's our starter when healthy. And I don't think a game against the Lions, even if Justin Fields comes out and lights it up, is enough to move the chain towards him.
And he should be fired more for that reason than losing to the Lions. That's his belief.
That's my biggest issue is it's never been about what Justin Fields can or will do. It's from the start, it has been, we Seinfeld promised Andy Dalton the starting role. So now we've got to come out here and let him start. And Andy's our guy. And Andy Dalton's been in the league for 12 years?
12
we
years.
know what this guy is. He's not going to get any better. He played like dog shit in Dallas. He He played like dog shit his last few years in Cincinnati. I don't understand Matt Nagy's conviction to go back to him if Justin Fields balls out.
Maybe Andy has pictures of McCaskey, and Nagy together. Maybe there's pictures. All right, let's move on to Tyler's game of the week. We got the Steelers coming into Green Bay. Interesting game. Is this going to be the last time we ever see Ben Roethlisberger as a starting quarterback? Boy, is he looking bad.
Mike Tomlin's not benching Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion.
But I think Ben Roethlisberger might bench himself. Not on purpose like that, but if they go into the Packers and it's a non-competitive game, that's the easiest bet on the board for me, I think, today, that the Packers are going to roll over the Steelers at Lambeau. And it's time. Roethlisberger should have retired. We all agree with that, correct? They didn't go out and get a quarterback. You got, what's that bum's name that's been backup quarterback for years there?
Rudolph,
they got into
the
fight with
reindeers?
the guy for the helmet. Who?
Rudolph the red-nosed
Rudolph. Yeah. I mean, I think Packers roll all over them, and I don't think there's any. Is JoJo Schuster? There is an injury on the Steelers.
Yes, Juju, I believe, is playing, but Chase Claypool is out. Yeah, Juju is good to go.
That could be big for anybody that has Juju, because he may get a lot more usage with Claypool being down.
So
Deontay Johnson is the play here.
Yeah, I would say Juju would be a lot more attractive if Deontay Johnson was missing this game. But we've seen over the last 2 years now, when Deontay Johnson's on the field, Big Ben hyper-targets him. Oh, yeah, he targets him like crazy.
Yeah, he's a stud. So I love the Packers and the Steelers. That's it. Here's another game. Boy, the NFL's pushing up every week. Some great games. Broncos home against the Ravens. Great game. Great game. Guys?
I think the Broncos pull it out at home. I don't think Baltimore goes in there. And
you've got Judy out, and now they just lost Hammer. What's the kid's name?
KJ Hamler.
KJ Hamler.
Yeah, he's out. So take Emmanuel Sanders. Big game coming today.
Emmanuel Sanders is on the Bills.
Yeah, what am I thinking? I just spaced that out myself. It's early here. I haven't gotten high yet. I think I watched another episode of The Sopranos, which I am doing. And I'm going to take this break out here. Tarbill and I were talking. For all you fantasy freaks out there, the man below has never watched one Sopranos episode. Actually, he was tied with Michael Gandolfini for a while. Tarbill loved it. I loved it. It was good. I wanted it to be great for anybody out there. It's an enjoyable movie. It's like all of a sudden people become experts knocking. Remember when Scorsese, was it last year, all the hype around The Irishman? Well, it's not Goodfellas. It's not Godfather. It's not. So what? Can't it just be a good movie?
Oh, I thought The Irishman was a tremendous film.
I loved it. Was it a little long? Yes. Give me an hour and a half movie, and I'm happier than a pig in you-know-what. You give me a 3.5 hour movie, even The Godfather. I thought it was too long.
Yep, I would agree with you.
The older you get, you get a weaker bladder. You gotta go pee-pee. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Tarbill.
I was going to say, why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll finish wrapping that up.
Pee-pee.
And I have an interesting Hall of Fame question for you guys when we come back. So
that's cool.
Stay right here on the world's best fantasy show on 1252 Sports. We'll be back with you in 60 seconds.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Darren, licensed real estate broker with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group in Homer Glen. Are you looking to buy or sell? Have you been disappointed in the past? The Jonathan Darren team with Coldwell Banker Real Estate Group focuses on providing you with a concierge level of service during the process of buying or selling. We are a service-oriented team with a fresh and professional approach to selling real estate. Our goal is to combine knowledge, skills, and passion to exceed our clients' expectations, and most of all, we truly care. We are a knowledgeable real estate team focused on offering expertise and innovative solutions for our clients. The Jonathan Darren team has 5 full-service real estate brokers and a dedicated full-time marketer servicing all of Chicagoland. We will customize a detailed plan around your timeline for a sale, purchase, investment, estate, or other needs. Real estate transactions can be stressful, but don't need to be. Let us handle it for you. Visit our website, homesbyjdt.com, or call 708-308-1938 today. Expect better in real estate. Choose the Jonathan Darren team.
And
Was
we're
there
back.
any place for us, the Bears, to move to Lockport?
Hey, I would love it. Then we could get Nick and Ivy beer at the game. I'd take it.
So what's your Hall of Fame question?
Okay, so not to derail the Sopranos talk, because I did love that movie, but the Hall of Fame list, the eligibility came out, I believe 2 weeks ago now, and a guy that I very strongly believe should be in the Hall of Fame, and I want your guys' opinion on this. The man who changed the kick return rule, Devin Hester, is he a Hall of Famer?
Yes, first ballot.
Yeah, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think he gets in first ballot, though, but I think he is a Hall of Famer.
I also agree with you, Space. I think he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Anybody that had an impact on the game the way that Devin did.
The way they did, yes.
Deserves.
He changed the way. I saw there was a kid yesterday, I forgot which college game I was watching, returned one, and kick returners on special teams that do that crap, that know how to get behind their blockers. Devin Hester was the best, and if he doesn't get in, it's cheating. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I think he deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think that he personally gets it. I think he has to wait 2 or 3 years before they finally let him in.
I think right away. I think he proved it.
As much as they can say that they changed the kick return rule for player safety, etc., that was a big part of it. But I also, and maybe it's me being a Bears fan, I also believe that was in part changed because of the amount of returns that Hester was running back in his career.
And remember when he didn't get the ball, what he did to the kicking team. He changed the way they kicked. They were always kicking to the other side to keep it away from him. Hester goes in. Hey, guys, there's a big game out here in Los Angeles this afternoon. 2 3-0 teams. Cardinals come in to visit the Rams. Cardinals have always played bad against the Rams, but I don't care, because that's yesterday's news. I think the Cardinals come in. The Rams are going to have a letdown after last week's big game. I love the Cardinals, and I think Murray is this year's most valuable player.
Kyler Murray is absolutely electric. I will say that. I think it's too early in the season to say that he'll be the MVP, but he's a great player. They've built a good team around him thus far, and I do believe they pull a win out today.
I think the Rams pull it out. I mean, this is probably the best game of the week right here. This is the best.
And there's a lot of good games. It's the best game by far because, first of all, you got 2 3-0 teams. Somebody flies home or walks home as a loser, and the records change. That division's unbelievable, but I just liked the Cardinals in this game for whatever reason. I think the Rams are going to have a come-down game, and after last week, what they did.
I absolutely agree with you there.
Another great game in the NFC West. Another great game. Seahawks go into San Francisco.
I've got San
Unusual
Francisco.
game. Huh? You got them?
I've got San Francisco in this game. I think that
Then you're saying the Seahawks are over because they've never lost 3 in a row. And this would be it.
I'm not saying the Seahawks are over. I think that is such a – I mean, that's more of a rivalry than the Bears-Packers are in some ways, the Seahawks and the 49ers. There's so much hostility between those teams every time they play, and both teams play with 120%. I think that San Francisco pulls this one out. I think Russell Wilson, great quarterback. Obviously, a lot of people have compared him collegiately and Justin Fields kind of with similar skill sets, but I think San Francisco pulls this one out. I think they have a hell of a game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think San Fran pulls it out.
Who's the running back?
So Elijah Mitchell is out.
No, I thought he's still on the injury list.
Yeah, he is out. Trey Sermon is starting.
Okay.
Do with that as you will, but I mean, he only got 10 rushing attempts last week.
Right.
He was bad without scoring a touchdown.
I know it's only 3 games, but is Kittle one of the most disappointing fantasy players so far this season?
I would say absolutely yes, because if you have him on your team, you drafted him high, and he's definitely not performed as a first-round fantasy draft pick so far this season.
I mean, he's been disappointing, but he is still tight end 6 on the season. So I mean, he's not hurting you too bad. He has been disappointing. He's not what you drafted him to be, but
who's tight end 3 out of curiosity? Because you obviously have Kelsey. You obviously had who we just talked about, Waller. Who's tight end 3 on that list?
Total points so far on the season, Travis Kelce is 1. Rob Gronkowski is 2. Darren Waller is 3.
Right. Gronkowski's out. Who's 4th?
TJ Hawkinson.
Really?
He's a good player, and he's going to light up against the Bears. You watch this.
Oh, stop it, Space. Stop it.
Could you guys take a guess on who 5 is?
Here is a game that interests me like there's no tomorrow. All the hype on the Cowboys. The 3-0 Panthers, the 3-0 Sam Darnold-led Panthers go into Cowboys Stadium. Who do you like in that game?
2 things there. One, I said it last week, and I'll say it again. This goes to show how incompetent Adam Gase was as a play caller. Secondly, I like Carolina in this game. I think Sam Darnold's going to come out, light it up, and we're going to have a 4-0 Carolina Panthers team. What do you think?
On the way to 17-0. I mean, Tyler?
I think Dallas pulls it out. CMC is out for the Panthers, which is a huge, huge loss.
Watch out. Here's my guy, gets over 100 yards today for Carolina. Chuba. I love that. I'll have anybody on my team with the name Chuba.
Yeah, no, I think Chubb was a competent replacement, but he is nowhere near the talent of
nobody
McCaffrey.
Is. But
quick question here in the chat.
McCaffrey's never had a quarterback like Chuba, like Darnold.
Quick question here in the
Crowder.
chat. Kirk or Crowder in the full P.
Kirk
in the flex.
Crowder, you got to rely on Zach Wilson.
And Crowder is just coming back from injury too, so
right.
I mean,
and he's a great receiver, but Kirk might be one of the top 5 surprises of the year. I liked him the last year, but not to the level he's performing now.
Another question here in the chat: who would you play in a non-PPR, Juju or Rondell Moore?
Juju.
Tyler,
I'd go with Juju. It's just I do like Rondale Moore. He has the ability to take any pass to the house, but you got to look at who's in the wide receiver room for those 2 teams. Right now, the Steelers, it's just down to Deontay and Juju. And then for the Cardinals, you got Hopkins, A.J. Green, Christian Kirk, and then Rondale Moore. You know, Nuke Hopkins. He's going to get a majority of the targets, and then it's just splitting up between the other three guys. I think you got to go with Juju there.
I would
By
agree
the sake
as
of
well.
numbers, you got to go with Juju.
Yeah.
You just have to. There's no way around it. Okay, let's go into Buffalo. Buffalo wins again against the Texans, not even close. And mind you, the Texans are playing some good ball defensively, but you got to go with Buffalo and Buffalo.
You know who's a coach over in Houston on the defensive side of the ball?
Lovie Smith.
Lovie Smith.
Matt Nagy.
Hey, could be after this week. Who knows? I'm on the get Matt Nagy the fuck out of Chicago train, as well as, probably 90% of our listeners that are Bears fans are. But realistically, this ties back into the Bills. Their offensive coordinator is probably going to be a head coach somewhere next season. Could he possibly be the replacement for Matt Nagy in Chicago?
Probably. The coaching situation, when you look at Urban Meyer, I think he's performing like don't forget, Saban failed in the NFL. And I think Urban Meyer's proving that, that wasn't a bad offense he inherited in Jacksonville. And that team's probably going to go 0-17 or 2-15 at the best. There is no way Jacksonville wins more than 2 games.
Yeah.
No
Really?
way. And,
Really? There's no way Jacksonville wins more than 2 games?
Yeah.
Look at their schedule.
Bad. They're pretty terrible.
And you know what? So is Urban Meyer.
He'll be back in college next year.
Yeah, I think
he's probably sorry. He probably would go to USC right now and give up his Jacksonville money in a heartbeat. Yeah. If he knew that
absolutely.
USC game was going, I wonder if he would have even taken the job if he knew that was opening.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder. We got a question from Trey here in the chat. Full PPR league, choose 2: Debo, Deontay, Galladay, or Allen Robinson.
I'd take everybody but Allen Robinson. Robinson's disappeared.
Could you toss that back up there again?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think I got to go with Debo Samuel and Deontay Johnson there.
Yeah, I would agree.
What's happened, guys, to Robinson?
Robinson
Matt
is
Nagy.
Yeah. He's being Matt Nagy.
Okay, we got to
have a top 5 wide receiver.
Who's the offensive court? Oh, he is.
You have a top 5 wide receiver in the league, and you make him run fucking curl routes for 12 yards. That's what happened to Allen Robinson. I mean,
and let's be honest. In everything we read in preseason before we drafted, everybody loved the kid Darnell, and he's disappeared.
Yeah, absolutely. Also,
no, you can't.
Can I trust Tannehill? If not, I have to
ask Trey S. Is that Trey's sermon? I have to ask you. Can you put that back up, Tarbill?
Yeah.
I have to ask. You mean to tell me Carr is not Trey S. on anybody's team in your league? Do you have a 6-team league? How can Carr not be on anybody's team?
So Carr, I will tell you his roster percentage right now. I can tell you it's not very high. I believe it's in the 50s, 60s.
Okay. We got our guy Alan Bratcher here. Don't get me started. We still love Mooney. Hey, I love Darnell Mooney, but he just hasn't had very many chances this season. Make sure you tune into Alan's pregame show. Bears fans with a brain after we get done here right around 10 o'clock. So
Alan does a great job. Bear fans with a brain are going to start putting a gun up to their head if this team doesn't win today. If this team, we're going to be talking next Sunday, guys. Oh, and I do have to tell you, 10-team. Trey has put up 10-team. Okay, I could see Carr being the 11. In the draft, you would have taken Tannehill over Carr. I can see it. Well, drop Tannehill, take Carr. I definitely could see that. Yeah, when you don't have a receiver to turn to and you got Derek Carr, take Derek Carr.
We already touched on this, but just for the sake of it being brought up in the chat, any chance Big Ben rebounds this afternoon against the Pack? I'm going to say yes. He lights it up for 6 touchdowns against Tyler's shitty Packers. I'm just kidding. No way.
I'll light it up for he gets 6 points.
That might even be a stretch.
Tell me a little bit, thinking of staying on that. In my draft and in so many other drafts, I'm sure Najee Harris went first. Najee Harris' running ability, when you don't have an offensive line, shows that no matter how good of a running back you are, you're not going to shine. And he hasn't proven to me anything running. I love the kid. He probably wished he had the Alabama offensive line and the wide receivers he had last year.
So you're poo-pooing on Najee Harris right now.
Yes, I am.
Najee Harris is running back 8 in PPR right now. Right along where he was drafted. He is not hurting you. He is not disappointing you. Because he's involved in every asset of that offense. He has not played less than 95% of the snaps in any game so far this year. They have nobody behind him. He's going to be involved. I think you're just being too rough on Najee. Leading up into the season, you were all over
because
him.
I thought Najee, I had in my draft the 7th pick in the first round. Najee was gone by the time it got to me. And I love Najee and everything else, but I thought he would just be running. I didn't know the Steelers' offensive line was that bad. I didn't know. Now, answer me a question, both of you. We got a yawner of a game, the Giants versus the Saints. And weren't we all bragging about Daniel Jones last week? Where the Saints playing?
New Orleans. It is their first game in New Orleans.
They're playing in New Orleans?
They are playing in New Orleans.
After the hurricane and the fire on the roof, they're back home?
Yep.
I wonder if it's going to be a full house.
Oh, I would absolutely think so.
It's going to be electric in there, dude. They're gonna absolutely destroy that Giants offense. That place is gonna get rocking.
Yeah, I've got New Orleans defense in both my fantasy leagues right now, and I think I'm riding with them the rest of the season. The way they've been playing, I mean, their defense has consistently got me, I believe, 15 or more points every week so far this season. So.
Hey, before we take another break, guys, I want to take it to Philadelphia and say, if you were a Chief fan and lived in Kansas City, are you getting a little worried? Are you getting a little worried? Let's go back to the Super Bowl where they were embarrassed. And then this year, are you getting a little worried?
About Pat Mahomes or
not
the
about,
offense
I said
in general?
The Chiefs. I said the Chiefs in general. I'm never going to worry about Mahomes, but they've never groomed a second receiver for him. And now they've got one he won't play Josh Gordon. He's not going to finish the year. He's not a savior. I mean, I'd worry about the Chiefs this season. I don't think, and they have no defense. They've proven that.
I think they definitely are regressing. I think Pat Mahomes is good enough to overcome a little bit of that, but you've got to get some solid receivers around him. Other than Tyreek Hill, who do you have? I mean,
Kelsey.
Well, you have Kelsey.
Well, Kelsey, but
you don't need a
like a
second
receiver.
Yeah, you don't need a second receiver.
He plays like a receiver, but you have Hardman never did what he was supposed to do, be a complimentary wide receiver. And, you double team Hill, and you double team Kelsey, and the defense, you're always in the game. It'll be interesting to see how Philadelphia plays, how Hurts plays against the Chiefs defense. It's going to be a very
I said hopefully
somebody have Hurts.
I do. I took the advice from my guy DaMouse on that one and drafted him in both my leagues, and he's done well so far for me for where I got him. So
who's your biggest surprise, both of you, this year as a team doing really good and doing surprisingly poor, leaving the Bears out of that connotation.
I think the surprise being a good team so far has got to be the Raiders. I mean, we touched on it a little bit earlier. They're 3-0.
Right. And it could be the Cardinals right after the Raiders.
Right.
Yep. And then,
what about the bust? I'm going Washington football team.
I expected the Washington football team to be bad, and then
one of the biggest letdowns so far, and I had him very high ranked before the season, Antonio Gibson. He has done nothing.
It has
look
been
at
a
Allen, good call. Panthers surprised, but you know what? Darnold was supposed to be good. He got out of the Jets system, got out of Adam Gates, and look at how he's playing without McCaffrey. What did McCaffrey play? One full game? And McCaffrey might be broken. This might be it for McCaffrey. These injuries start creeping up.
I mean, McCaffrey played the first 2 games. He got hurt last week.
Yeah, right. I wouldn't be too worried about CMC at this point, but I guess we'll see when he bounces back if there's any lingering effects of that injury or if he just goes right back into what he's done historically.
I don't think
surprise team. Surprise team. Talking about it, we have to mention the Bengals. They looked pretty good Thursday night, even though it was against a terribly atrocious Jacksonville team. But Burrow's a solid quarterback, and he's got some receivers on that team.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even against the Bears, Joe Burrow threw 3 picks in a row and then was marching his team down the field.
And was still in the game.
Yeah, still in the game. That speaks volumes to any quarterback that can throw 3 picks consecutively and then get his head on straight and get his team back in a game. That's Joe Burrow's something special. I like that kid.
Yeah, no, it is surprising to see a nice, well-rounded team. That offensive line does look a million times better than it did last year when Joe Burrow was getting murdered back there. Their defense is playing solid. I do like the Bengals. I think they're a solid team. I don't think they're a playoff team or anything like that.
Oh, I do.
I think they're a team in the middle of the pack, and they're on the upswing for the next couple of years.
I would agree. I don't know that they make the playoffs this season, but they are definitely trending upward. Before we wrap this thing up, guys, let's go ahead and take a break and hear from a couple of our sponsors, and we'll be back with you in 1 minute.
Let's go.
Hello, this is Paul from Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. We are located at 1026 South State Street in historic downtown Lockport, Illinois. We are very excited to be partnering up with the Fat Mike Chicago Sports Show as well as the 1252 brand because we are one of the few Chicagoland breweries that embrace sports and sports culture. Come in for a fresh brewed beer made right here in Lockport while catching the game of your favorite team. Stay for the live music that we have booked every weekend. Or just come for a cozy atmosphere to enjoy a good conversation with a friend, loved one, or complete stranger. Nick and Ivy makes you feel right at home no matter what the occasion is. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for Nick and Ivy Brewing Company. Visit our website for our up-to-date tap list or to go shopping on our online store at nickivybrewing.com. That's Nikivy brewing.com. Come in today for a fresh brewed beer born and raised in Lockport, Illinois.
Real estate is hot right now, and you need an attorney to handle all of this. My guy, Mark Berardi, does this all day long. He's a straight shooter. There's no fancy language. He's just to the point. And he and his team get the deal done. There's no BS. He also does estate planning, trusts, wills, and power of attorney. He has great reviews up and down the board from a ton of happy clients. For him and his big team, they're all just down to earth and normal people as much as he is. You will not be disappointed you went with him. He's located in Homer Glen and New Lenox and handles real estate all over Illinois. There's no place too far, so give him a call today at 708-942-8030. Again, that's 708-942-8030, or look him up online at Mark Berardi and Associates.
Welcome back to the world's best fantasy show on 1252 Entertainment Sports. We got Tarbill. We got Tyler. We're just a few minutes away from kickoff almost. Two games we didn't touch on, guys. The Browns visit Minnesota. And on your list, Tyler, somewhere I bet you Kirk Cousins is statistically having one of the best careers of his career so far, best seasons.
Yeah,
Cousins is playing great. And that's without Dalvin Cook. Is he playing today?
Dalvin Cook is back. It has already been reported this morning. So Kirk Cousins on the season right now is QB5. Last year, he finished the season as QB12, and over his last 16 games, he's thrown like 4,800 yards, like 32 touchdowns, and like 4 interceptions. He's been on a roll dating back to even last season.
Yet he gets no credit ever.
Yeah.
Never. You know, somebody had to throw if Justin Jefferson was the big rookie breakout last season. Somebody's got to get Justin Jefferson the ball. Cousins is never hurt. He plays every game. He's just not flashy.
That's correct.
Minnesota, Tyler, is a team you got to worry about for Green Bay's purposes. Who do you like better, Minnesota or Green Bay?
Oh, it is Green Bay without a doubt.
Oh, yeah, there is a doubt. There is a doubt. And the Browns, OBJ, is Jarvis Landry playing or not, Tyler?
Jarvis Landry's out. I believe he's still on IR. I think he was placed on IR last week. But the only guy there is OBJ. You do have Donovan Peoples-Jones as the wide receiver.
And you do have my guy Schwartz, whatever his first name is. I just love his last name. Do any of you? I have no faith in any Buffalo running back. Simple period, end of story. I have no faith in them.
Yeah, Pig Dog. If that is any variation of PPR, Myers is without a doubt the better play there. If it's standard, there's some sort of a question, but any type of PPR league, half point or full, you have to go Myers there. Crazy stat about Myers. So there's only one player in NFL history who has more targets over their career without a touchdown, and that was Eric Bieniemy.
Really?
Jacoby Myers.
And isn't Bieniemy a coach on the Chiefs?
Yeah.
He's going to be your USC coach, by the way. I predict right here, October 3rd, 2021, next year's USC football coach will be Eric Bieniemy. Guy deserves a head coaching job. And the NFL, for whatever reason, passes him up. I don't know why. He's going to go to USC and make them a actual playoff contending team out there. One game we haven't touched about, I wouldn't even watch this game. Going into Atlanta, you got the Washington football team. I have no interest at all, other than the Falcons got a lot of good fantasy players, but they do nothing.
I wouldn't say they have a lot of good fantasy players. I'd say
they do have
Ridley,
and
that's it.
One of the top 5 receivers they have. I mean, I just thought they were going to be better offensively than they have proven so far. And Washington doesn't even have a defense anymore. And that was the creme de la creme of their team.
I think Washington pulls this one out this week, guys. Bold prediction.
I don't know if that's bold. I think the Falcons are absolutely terrible. The Falcons are bad.
The Falcons are a bad team, but
yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't know how you.
And
go
weren't
the
supposed to
last
be
couple
this
years.
bad. I think Tarbill freezed.
I think you're freezing on our side, Space.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I think that Atlanta's just not. Atlanta's never going to live up to their potential. I mean, I think Matt Ice is done. I think he's washed.
Yeah, I I think he's still a competent quarterback, but just with that offense just amplifies how much he's declined over the last couple seasons.
Yeah, exactly. And they don't do anything to help him either. But
Mm-hmm.
the Washington football team, I thought when Fitzmagic went down that they would be down and out for the rest of the season. And that's not so much the case. I mean, they're not doing great. They're not doing horrible. They're a middle of the pack team right now, but they are playing better than I thought they would be at this point.
Yeah, no, Taylor Heineke has stepped in. He hasn't lit the world on fire, but he's doing just enough to keep them in the game and not lose the game for them.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. Well, I guess moving on to wrap the show up, Tyler, I believe you have some, I'm not even going to say hot bets because of your 0-5 streak, but you've got some bets for us to finish up here, do you not?
Yes, I do. I got some bets, and I got a couple streamers. So I'll go with the bets first. I got 3 bets. The streak I'm going on right now may not be a bad idea to fade them and bet the opposite side until I turn it around a little bit. But yeah, first bet here we got OBJ over 64.5 receiving yards. The Minnesota defense is done. They've been terrible for the last couple seasons. OBJ came back last week, wasn't limited at all. He was very much involved. 77 receiving yards in his first game back off the torn ACL. 64.5. I think it's a nice line. And just with the cake matchup and nobody else really to catch passes besides OBJ in that offense, I think it's a solid bet. Another one, Derrick Henry over 26.5 rushing attempts. They have absolutely no wide receivers. I think they just pound the ball down the Jets' throats the entire game. I think he can get up to 35 rushing attempts in this game.
You said over 26.5?
Over 26.5 attempts. That is the line right now on DraftKings. That is the only 2-unit bet I made this week. And then the last bet I have right here is not a pleaser. It's a teaser. It's a 6-point teaser. I got the Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee Titans, Green Bay Packers, Tampa Bay Bucks. I teased it all by 6, so I got Kansas City -1, Tennessee at a pick'em, Green Bay at -0.5 point, and then Tampa Bay at -1.
Very nice. Well, I think looking at the 3 bets that you just gave, if I was going to lay my money, I would have to think it'd be on the Derrick Henry bet if I was choosing one bet this week. Just because, as you said, they're playing the goddamn Jets, and we know the Jets are horrible. So in that regard, like you said, they'll probably just pound the ball right down their throat. And hopefully Henry has a big game because he's on my fantasy team. So
all right, then. Yeah, before we get out of here, though, I'll end it with some streamers here. So a quarterback for this week, I got Sam Darnold at Dallas, or not, I don't remember. Or no, they're at home versus – no, they're at Dallas, right?
Yeah, they're in Dallas.
Okay, so yeah, they're at Dallas. Sam Darnold, he's rostered in 36% of leagues. I think he's got a solid matchup. He's been playing phenomenal compared to how he played in New York. I think he's a low-end QB1 for the week. And then Taylor Heineke versus Atlanta. Very, very soft defense. Taylor Heineke hasn't scored less than 22 points in a game he has started. And it's not he's not lighting it up through the air. It's just his rushing floor. I've talked about it, I believe, every single week we've done this show about the quarterbacks with their rushing abilities. They're a cheat code. We saw a couple weeks ago Jalen Hurts, he didn't have any touchdowns in the game. And he still put up 23 fantasy points. Yeah, it's just a cheat code. It's the way the NFL has evolved and fantasy football has evolved. The statues that are thrown from the pocket might win you some weeks, but they're not going to put you over the edge like the guys with the rushing ability have the chance to do.
Absolutely agree there. That excites me to see what Justin Fields does as the future for the Bears. I think next season he could be a great fantasy asset. with his rush ability if they utilize him correctly.
So right before we started the show, I did have Justin Fields as a streaming quarterback over Taylor Heineke. But just as a second look through right before we went live, I took Justin Fields out and put in Taylor Heineke. But I do believe Justin Fields, if Bill Lazor is calling the plays, I think he could be a solid play this week. I think he has the ability to get into the QB1 range.
Yeah. All indications point that Bill Lazor is calling plays this week. Our guy Allen has heard it from one of his sources that Lazor's going to be the guy, and it was if that's the case, it's going to be a completely different game. And like you said, Fields might be a QB1 on the week against a very soft Detroit defense. So
yes. All right, over at running back, they are not good options, but if you're going to the waiver wire Sunday, like we said before, you're not really going to get the best options. But it's J.D. McKissick versus Atlanta. If Atlanta does get ahead in that game, he will be a lot more involved because he gets all of his work in the passing game. For some reason, they have not been using Antonio Gibson very much in the passing game, which makes no sense. But J.D. McKissick is involved in the passing game, so I think he's a solid PPR option. And then Peyton Barber versus the Chargers. I don't know what it is. Gruden loves Peyton Barber for some reason. In a press conference this week, he was talking about, oh, yeah, Jacobs is going to be back, but I won't hesitate to put Peyton Barber in the lead role. What do you mean? You just spent a first-round draft pick on Josh Jacobs a couple years ago.
Right.
You picked up Peyton Barber in the offseason as a depth piece. I don't know how you have him jumping Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs, but, I mean, you got to follow where the touches are in fantasy football. If Gruden's going to keep using him in the backfield, especially in this game, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, the Chargers and the Raiders. I mean, I think Peyton Barber does have the ability to possibly get into the flex conversation this week.
Okay.
Wide receiver, I got Tim Patrick versus Baltimore with Judy and KJ Hamler out. It's just Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton. I think Tim Patrick's a nice PPR flex for the week. And then Curtis Samuel making his season debut against Atlanta. I think he's available in 59% of leagues. So even if you do not want to play him this week, which it's not the best option coming off an injury, coming off the IR.
Right.
But Curtis Samuel is a nice hold for the rest of the year. So if you do have the ability and the room on your roster, you can pick him up. I do like him rest of season. He was a wide receiver coming into the year that I was very high on, and just the injuries derailed that. But yeah, Curtis Samuel against Atlanta. Tight end, I got Austin Hooper versus Minnesota and Dawson Knox versus Houston. Don't like either one of the options, but I think Knox versus Houston is the better option. We've seen it when Buffalo has gotten up this year. They do not let up. They just keep on passing and passing and passing. And going up against Houston, it's an extremely soft defense. If you're streaming a tight end, you're hoping for a touchdown, and I think Dawson Knox does have the chance to get a touchdown this week.
Hooper was a guy a couple of years ago that was a starting tight end in a lot of leagues. So I think obviously different team with a different skill set now, but I think Hooper gets a touchdown today. I'll go out on a limb and say that.
Yeah, Hooper parlayed that season into the richest tight end contract in NFL history.
Crazy to think that's the case.
Absolutely nuts.
But
yeah, that's all I got.
Great picks there, Tyler. As always, guys, we appreciate you joining us. Real quick, our guy Alan Bratcher is going to be having his Bears Fans with a Brain pregame show starting here in just a few minutes. Actually, he's probably live now, so if you're a Bears fan, be sure to go jump over to that stream. We did add a new show here on 1252, the Over-Under with our guy Harry the Greek, betting aficionado. So be sure to check out Harry as well. We got one question here in the chat before we go, Tyler. Crowder, Singletary, or McKissick in a PPR league? I'm gonna say McKissick. I
Man.
had McKissick on my bench 2 weeks ago, and he got 17 points on my bench. It was horrible. I was disappointed.
Yeah, oh man, that one is rough. I think Crowder's ruled out. I think it's a coin flip there. I'd probably go Singletary over McKissick, but I think that's a coin flip.
Okay.
Go
yes,
flip a coin.
lots of good things going on here at 1252 Sports, guys. Be sure to check out all the other shows on the network. As always, you can listen day after on Spotify. Like, subscribe, and follow to our YouTube and Twitch. And with that, guys, have a good Sunday. Go Bears. Hopefully, I'm a little bit happier next week when the Bears pull it out here against Detroit. I can't even say that right because I'm just so nervous to see what the train wreck is or isn't this afternoon. But with that being said, have a good Sunday, guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys later. Go Pack, go.